Let's go!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Mario, episode 14. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and joining me, as always, is Bryce DeWitt.
Hello, hello.
And for the first time on the show, we've got Eric Zauch.
Yeah, you got it right. Yeah, Eric Zauch. Howdy, everyone.
Yeah, from Nintendo by Numbers. How are you going?
I am doing fantastic after the terrible day I explained to you earlier, but people don't need to hear about that right now.
For those who don't know who you are, what you do, just give us a quick rundown on yourself.
So as a quick rundown, I kind of just run technically it's mainly a podcast called Nintendo by Numbers, a little bit like yourself. But we do a little bit of other stuff on the side, like run a website with reviews and stuff, but that always sits on the back burner mainly to running the podcast every week.
Yep. Yeah, it's like Bryce would probably agree with me. Like, it's quite impressive, like what you've done with your website. It's really nicely presented.
Yeah, especially early, in the early days of it, I checked it out. I was like, shit, this is something that I want to have going for us.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much. Took quite a bit of effort and quite a bit of learning because I had no background experience into how to do any of that type of stuff before this, and then I kind of it all came first with the podcast and then kind of evolved from there and eventually kind of got the website running and just kind of splashed into all these different areas that I just wanted to be getting into for a while. And the podcast is still, like I keep saying, the main thing that I really get into and love doing every week. But at the same time, like just sitting down and writing a review, there's something satisfying about that.
Yeah, just getting your thoughts out on paper for people to read if they're interested in the game. Yeah,
exactly. Just your thoughts on paper, and I've been delving into a little bit of video reviews as well, trying to, get my charisma up a little bit, so to say.
Yep.
See, I wrote a few myself when we were both dabbing into the written side of things with Aussie Nintendo before they shut down, which was held by Dave Rennie in Adelaide for some time, held by somebody else in Sydney prior to that. And I think I got about 3 reviews out before it ended. And I love doing it too. I absolutely love doing it.
Yeah, it certainly is a labour of love. It takes time and effort to really kind of get a good review together and write it all together. But yeah, like you said, at the end of it, the labour of love, it's just what you put pen to paper. Every time you get someone that reads it and comments on it, it kind of just makes you go, it's a really good feeling.
It was worth it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just that one comment was, yeah, this is cool. Like, it makes it all worth it. Yeah.
It really does, yeah.
Yeah. Whoops. So, obviously, you're a big Nintendo fan. You run a Nintendo website and a Nintendo podcast. What were some of the games that got you into gaming and, eventually Nintendo games?
Well, it's actually, I've kind of been almost all my life just mainly a Nintendo gamer. I have delved into other things, but mainly it's been Nintendo. And what really kind of got me into Nintendo was, surprisingly enough, I think a lot of people share the same thing, with my dad. He actually picked up a NES back in the day when I was just a kid, and he used to play the NES a lot. And honestly, I don't know why. Maybe it was just like technology was so new to us back then. I was kind of scared to play it, so I never ever played the NES. I just watched him play it, and then one day we got a SNES, and it was just kind of like the new best thing out, and so I had to try it. He's playing it in front of me, and he handed me the SNES controller, and at the time it was Street Fighter, so he handed me the SNES controller and said, "You know what, Eric, here you go, play some Street Fighter with me, let's give this a go." And I was only about 4.5, 5 at this stage, and he handed me the controller, and I didn't realise, but he handed me the controller upside down. So, and I was none the wiser, and I don't think he realised what he'd done either, and so we sat down and we probably played a good hour of Street Fighter. I played with the controller upside down. I had no idea. And I'm sitting there just mashing the buttons, trying to learn what to do. And eventually, I actually learned to play with the controller upside down. That's how I knew how to play Street Fighter.
Oh, God.
That's
And
impressive.
so it was impressive. It didn't follow into other games after that. Of course, I eventually learned to play with it the right way and how that worked. But yeah, so like for me, left was right, right was left. And that was just the way I learned how to play SNES. And it leads into actually another funny story where I went into the mall one day with my mum. And this is still when I was playing with the controller upside down. And they had the Street Fighter game out for everyone to kind of play on the demo kiosk. And so my mum walks up to one of the bigger kids that was playing it at the time. And, he would have probably been like 10 or 12 years old. And I'm only some 5-year-old. And she goes, "Excuse me, my son would like to play Street Fighter with you. Is that okay?" And he looks down at me and kind of rolls his eyes and goes, yeah, okay, he can play a game. I'll let him play against me. And of course, I go up and I pick up the controller and I'm holding it upside down. And this kid, he just thinks he's got me beat. He's a 5-year-old playing with a controller upside down. What am I even doing here? And I ended up beating him. Like, surprisingly enough, long story short, I ended up beating him. And this kid would have been so embarrassed. And I love telling that story just because, and I wish I knew the kid. I would like, if it was these day and age, I would have got a selfie with him.
Yeah, for sure. Did your dad just wail on you when you played with him, or did he let you win a bit, or were you better than him?
Honestly, for Street Fighter, I just don't remember enough, but I have a feeling that he just kind of sat back and just let me wail on him. I don't think he would have been doing much.
Like, if you go back to Street Fighter 2 now, would you play with the controller upside down, or you sort of just, adjusted? And,
definitely adjusted. In fact, I think, it was that game back then, I definitely played with it upside down. But as soon as I started playing other games, I think my dad was kind of like, all right, you got to play with the controller the right way. It's just getting embarrassing.
Yeah, I could imagine, like, if you're still playing with all your controls upside down, you got, like, your Switch and your 3DS and stuff upside down.
Yeah. I know. Imagine trying to hold I've got the Joy-Cons like up the wrong way and trying to hold everything. That'd be really, really difficult. Especially because you have to have the screen up the wrong way these days as well. But that kind of leads me into, that wasn't really what led me into being a really main core gamer. What really kind of got me into Nintendo games in the first place was Super Mario All-Stars, actually. That game, I think I just, because it was back in the day when you didn't really have many SNES games. It was at that stage it was Street Fighter or Super Mario All Stars, or you don't play anything. And so for a long time until we eventually started getting some more games, I just played Super Mario All Stars through and through every single game, and those games are just, I know them like the back of my hand these days because of it.
Yeah, it's like one of the most perfect collections of games.
It is.
It's just,
yeah.
Like, you could play that thing for hours, like today even.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that it's not coming to the SNES Mini. I know that we kind of technically got it out on the NES, but like for me, it's just kind of like, that's the way I remember playing it. I don't know about you guys. Do you remember playing it on the SNES, or was your memories more built to the NES?
I certainly do.
I dabbled in it, but I sort of played the originals more, I think. Like the NES versions.
My father's best friend sort of thing. My father passed away quite a long time ago. I was very much a baby when he died. So my father's best friend actually owned one, and I would sit there and play with his kid for hours on end, just playing All Stars. It was some of the more cherished memories, because that was what really, really solidified me in the beginning.
Yeah. I'm quite in a similar sort of situation. I wasn't quite that young when my father died, but I shouldn't say that, but I kind of grew up after that stage playing games with my friends. Like, I don't know about you guys, but that's kind of, you only owned a couple games back then. So like playing games, you went to your friend's house to play a game. You didn't, to play something different. You didn't necessarily have all the games yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I remember all my friends had a PS2, and I wanted a GameCube, and basically the guy at the store said, GameCubes are trash, get a PS2. So my mum come back and said, all right, GameCubes aren't so good, but do you want a PlayStation? And I said, no, not really. All my friends have one, so I'll just go and play it around there.
Did you guys own, were you GameCube or PS2 back in those days?
I owned a GameCube.
I didn't own either.
Unfortunately.
Oh, Drew, what? Neither.
Yeah, I got mine near the end of their shelf life.
Okay.
Because I wasn't particularly wealthy, so it was kind of like asking for a game console was basically asking for a gold bar wrapped in money.
Definitely. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
for a birthday present. So I was like, okay, no problem. But then near the end of their shelf life, they were super cheap. I think you could get them for $99 or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So that's about the time I picked mine up. But in between then and getting that GameCube, all I played was my 64.
I was quite content. Oops, sorry. You go.
No, you go, Drew.
No, I was quite content when I was a kid, just with the handhelds. So I never really thought about getting a console that much until sort of the late days of the GameCube. And my first console was actually a Wii with Wii Sports and Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
So I was quite late.
I was definitely a portable gamer myself a lot as well. And I think I share this with you guys, is that I like kind of grew up a lot on Pokemon. And that was, to me, I think when I think of RPGs, a lot of people don't really think of Pokemon, but that was kind of the game that introduced me to RPGs. Like, I started off my kind of love affair with them, if you will.
Yep, absolutely.
Definitely for me. Yeah.
Too many hours invested in Pokemon now.
What were your first Pokemon game?
It was definitely Blue. I didn't own Red. I had Blue, and it. All I remember is having that and the Game Boy Light. I was so excited to get it for my birthday because at this stage all my friends had it, and like, of course, the Game Boy didn't have backlighting, so you had to get your Game Boy Light and you'd just sit under the covers at night because it's bedtime. You got to go to bed, no more games. But little did they know that you had your GBA with your Game Boy with your light sitting under the covers playing your games.
Oh, that, like, just thinking back to that is so painful that it just doesn't have a backlight, and you got to like, you've got to like angle it like in the car and stuff to get the right light. And
I know. Well, dude, these days we complain about like something's battery not lasting long enough. We had to like change the batteries out in there all the time. There's a completely different story.
Yeah, like 4 of them. What was in the original Game Boy? Is it 4?
Yeah, 4 of them.
I think it was 4. Yeah,
they'd last anywhere from 2 to 4 hours.
Yeah,
so an hour per battery. It was ridiculous.
And that was better than that, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't that great.
Because Nintendo handhelds were always known for having good battery life until like the 3DS.
No, I don't know. I remember switching out mine a lot, but God knows.
Who knows?
I think it really came down to how much worn your hardware was.
Yeah.
Because that's generally how it was back in the day. Like, the closer you'd gotten to its expiry date, sort of thing, the more juice it would chug. Yeah, that's generally how it happened for me.
Yeah, because I bought a original Game Boy, and only recently I bought a Game Boy Pocket. Is that what I got? Yeah, I've got the lighter version. Yeah, the Pocket, and I think that uses a few less batteries and has a bit better battery life, but I haven't actually tried it that much because I've got a copy of Pokemon, but the battery doesn't work, so I can't actually get into it.
Rip.
Yeah, well, I pretty much knew the battery wasn't going to work, but
yeah, well,
it's nice to have and shake around, I guess.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate with all those batteries dying for those games that are so damn timeless.
Yeah, for sure.
I suppose now we can re-experience them on 3DS, but it's not quite the same.
Well, maybe one day we'll get that GBA or Game Boy Mini, or Classic Edition, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, that would be so good. I would love that so much.
We can dream.
We can dream.
Yeah, we actually discussed it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. Bryce doesn't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, Drew, but I'm with Bryce here. I wish it would happen, but I don't think it will somehow.
Yeah. I think because handhelds are too accessible nowadays, and they're trying to sell more 3DSs, even though they're kind of coming to their day's end and all that stuff. I think they're kind of just like, we'll just put them on 3DS. I mean, that seems to be the way they're going. Yeah,
exactly. I just feel like maybe it's because it may not seem it, but it might be more of a niche market to hit the handheld market with these things, rather than the kind of mass appeal that the SNES and NES and the household name that they have kind of thing behind them.
Yeah, it's a nostalgia thing to families that these things have brought, not the individual person.
Yeah.
Well, in saying that though, I think the Game Boy brand is huge and does have that nostalgia. Just it's competing with phone emulators, computer emulators.
Yeah, but it's for the individual person.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so much. It's not so much. You sit. I said the same thing actually the other week. It's not sitting around the TV with like a bunch of people and chucking around a controller, and you know when you put it in a handheld sense, it's just like you play a Pokemon RPG or something, and you just like pass over when you die. You probably never die.
Or you get two of them, and they can put so the link cables separately, and you can trade and battle.
Link cables.
Yeah, link cables.
Now you're hitting me right in the nostalgia. That hurts.
Just going back to your podcast, Eric. What made you want to start like podcasting?
Honestly, like I just kind of listened to podcasts in and out for a long time, and I love podcasts and listening to podcasts. And then I was kind of just sitting down one day and I was listening to it, and as I always do, like I constantly just want to chime in with my own thoughts and what do I want to say, and I just want to say something, but I'm kind of like, well, I'm just listening. I'm not actually a part of this, and so I kind of thought, well, you know what, I'm going to do it. I just want to go out there. I'm going to start my own podcast, and so that's kind of what I did. I tried. First of all, I tried to wrestle up some friends, and I got friends who were into gaming, and you guys may remember this, but I actually started off not as Nintendo by Numbers, but as Super New Games. And the purpose behind that name was because at the stage when we first started the podcast, we were going to be about everything. And that was simply because it's hard to find some friends or anyone who wants to podcast with you that's just about Nintendo. A lot of the time, you know, I know a lot of gamers who are just play all games. I mean, I play all games myself, and so that's kind of like, well, I'll go and I'll broaden out my reach from just Nintendo, and I'll do everything. And we honestly did that for probably about 3 or 4 episodes. And after 3 or 4 episodes, we kind of got to the point where we found that 90% of the time we were coming into the room and we were just talking about Nintendo, because that's basically most of what I knew anyway. And it was hard to commit. At the start, we did have 4 people, all of us together, podcasting, and it was hard to get everyone in the room at once a week and everyone together to podcast. So at that stage, it kind of dropped off, and it ended up just being me and my partner Nat. We'd ended up just getting into a room, but we still stayed with the Super New Games name and pretended that we'd talk about everything but just Nintendo. And then after a while, we were kind of like, well, we just talk about Nintendo. Let's just cut out everything else and just do Nintendo. And then at that stage, the name didn't really stick, because the name, I mean, it has part of the name in there. Like Super was supposed to be a bit of a throwback to what we talk about, all the way back to Super Nintendo, all the way up to new games. But it still didn't suit who we were. And so we ended up getting to about 30 episodes and going, we kind of do we just continue going where we are, or do we rebrand it, come back and kind of direct our focus into one area? And that's why people know who we are and what we do, and there's no confusion about it. And so that's what we did. We kind of shut down shop. We closed everything off to do with Super New Games, and we rebranded ourselves to Nintendo by Numbers to really say who we are. And you might be wondering where the Nintendo by Numbers kind of name comes from. And that's the idea behind that. Is when we decided to rebrand, we decided that we'd start doing these reviews and other stuff as well. And so we thought, you know what, let's do, as part of the articles, have a bit of a number theme going on. And that's what we've kind of, it's not always apparent in the podcast, because the podcast is mainly there just as a podcast. But in the website, you'll notice a lot of number theming. So with the articles we write, we'll try to theme it around numbers. So 5 things you need to know about something, or 5 things you might have missed about this. And that way, it kind of it helps people's interest stay high with what we're writing, rather than just, you know, the same news that everyone else writes, because that's what we try to stick away from, is just news, and more focus on stuff that's entertaining for people to read, or, you know, helps them out.
Yeah, for sure. I remember after the rebrand, like I went to your website and just like noticed everything's like either a list or, you know, something along the nature of by numbers. I'm like, oh, that's a neat idea, because you don't see that often. Nintendo sites are just, you know, the news or, you know, review. Like it's all kind of similar. So it's cool that you have like your own sort of.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're going for. Is because when we sat down and thought about it, we thought, you know what, there's plenty of other Nintendo news sites out there, and like off the top of my hand, I could name 5 right off the top of the bat, just easily. And so I didn't want to just compete with them and honestly just be another one of them. And that's kind of why we've gone, you know what, let's not just be another one of them. And sure, like some of the other ones do podcasts and some of the other ones do reviews, but we still try to differentiate ourselves enough away from them that we feel different and feel like we can add to what people are viewing for Nintendo content and not just be another echo in the chamber.
Yeah, for sure.
Pointing at me. Actually, just to push in on that, I think that was an important part in our decision to do what we've been doing as well. Like we've covered things like Gamescom and E3 because they're super important on the show.
Oh, definitely, yeah, we're the same.
Like, you know, it's topical at the time, and a lot of news comes out and stuff like that, and it's all because it's in one big bunch sort of thing. But again, week by week stuff, when it comes to news, like you're scraping the barrel at that point. Like you got to come to an entertaining sort of push.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially as a podcast, like you would know as well, trying to stand out from the crowd. Like there's not a massive crowd per se for Nintendo podcasts as there is in comparison to, like, you know, Sony podcasts, for example.
Exactly, yep.
You've got stuff like Vooks in Australia or, you know, IGN. But again, it comes around to the fact that speaking as an individual, we talk about our own experiences and stuff like that, and try to keep it as funny as we can in our own stupid way.
You know, make it personal, not just another commenting on the news type of thing.
Exactly, guys. And I mean, personally, I listen to your podcast and I love it. And the reason I love it is that every week I know that I'm going to tune in and I'm going to get a couple of guys that I can relate to and their opinion on everything that's going on. And I find it funny and I find it entertaining. And that's what I'm there for. That's why I listen to podcasts. Now, the hard part is, like you're saying, getting people to get in and listen in the first place. Because once people sit down and they start listening and enjoying what you have to say, they'll kind of come back for more because they'll enjoy it and they'll think, you know what, this is fun. I like listening to these guys every week, and you know, why not while I'm in the car have this playing in the background so that it's almost like you're catching up with a couple of friends. And I think that's like I said, the hard part is getting people to listen in the first place. But once they're there, they're going to be listening with a couple of friends like you guys. And yeah.
Yeah, it's really important to us in that aspect that we get noticed as people. Not as just people behind the mic that are reporting the news. Exactly,
and there's a lot of other podcasts out there that I've listened to in the past, and and Nintendo ones in particular that I was kind of going. It almost feels like you guys are just reporting on the news. You're not having a discussion about it, and I like, if I wanted to find the news, I could just go onto a site and read that. But what I really enjoy is having a listen to it and listening to opinions on the news, because that's what differentiates it from everyone else.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You get a different viewpoint, and then you can think on it. And you can sort of, especially people that are willing to listen to retorts in comments and stuff like that as well. That helps.
Exactly.
We don't get a lot of that, but we get a lot of feedback about the show every time we post it up for public viewing, and that's great because I like to know whether we need to make improvements to the show, or, you know, just in general what people think of what we've said about X comment on the show.
Yeah, that's definitely really important, because a lot of people don't realize that, you know, if no one speaks up and tells us that, you know, they did enjoy something, or even if they didn't enjoy something, we're not going to know, and so we're just going to continue on the way we do. And so if you want to hear more of something, you know, write into guys like you two and let us know if you want to hear more, because it means so much to us, and it helps us kind of continue with content that you enjoy.
Absolutely. You've put it absolutely stellar.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I think week by week.
How do you go about taking constructive criticism and stuff like that and applying it to the show?
Honestly, we don't really get that much feedback. I would love to say that we get feedback all the time, and I take the criticism and run with it and go with it. But honestly, it's really hard, and I'm sure you guys know this, to put yourself out there and have anyone that wants to kind of react and talk back with you guys, and some, because a lot of the time, and I kind of fall in this category myself sometimes, and I feel bad because of it. But a lot of the time, people just fall into the category where they just like to sit back and listen. They don't want to interact with everything, and one day they might come out of their shell and decide to. And so I encourage anyone listening now, come out of your shell and react to these guys and let them know what you think, because as we keep saying, it means so much to us. But as for my show in particular, there has been a couple of times that people have said, I found this part a little bit slow to listen to, and so we've taken a few things out. Like in particular, our show length, we used to run, almost 2 hours or over 2 hours, and me and Nat really enjoyed that. But some people that listened to our show didn't, and maybe it was just a particular audience that we were targeting didn't enjoy that, and so we've kind of tried to cut back our shows a little bit. Now it means that we're putting shows out more often, so we're sometimes we try to get 2 up a week. It's normally at least 1, but our show length has been kind of cut back to about 40 to 45 minutes on average. We certainly don't set a time limit on ourselves. It's as long as we feel like talking, we're going to sit there and talk. But we've kind of reined it back in and gone down just to one subject to say, all right, let's just talk about 1 or 2 things for this episode, and that'll help us focus down and keep people interested in what we're talking about.
Yeah, I've noticed that your episodes have gone from about the hour mark to about, I think was the last one about 35 minutes or
Yeah,
something?
the last one was actually quite short. We kind of pumped through the last one that we did. So as I said, like sometimes we go in there and we decide on what we're going to talk about before we go into the room, obviously. But sometimes we sit down and we talk about it for 30 minutes and decide, well, we both have nothing more to say. Let's not drag it out. And then sometimes we'll sit there and we'll talk for an hour and just go, I could keep talking. Let's go for an hour and 20. But yeah, on average, you can kind of expect it to be around the 45-minute mark.
Yeah, well, it is nice to have like variety in like your podcast, because I know for a fact like Kind of Funny and IGN podcasts seem to be about an hour, and that seems to be the sweet zone, I think.
Yeah,
but then there's other podcasts like Giant Bomb. They go for about anywhere from 2 hours to 3 hours.
and this, but the thing is, there's no wrong way of doing it, because like I've listened to both of them, and I still do listen to both of them on the occasion. And a lot of the times at the end of an IGN podcast, I'll be like, oh God, I just wish I could listen to that a little bit longer. It feels like it's ended so quickly. And then sometimes I'll sit down and listen to a Giant Bomb episode, and I'll go through the full 3 hours and be like, oh, I really enjoyed that full 3 hours. It really depends on how much time they have of the week sometimes, but there's no cookie cutter build to say, this is what length it should be. It's really what the people listening to you want to listen to.
Yeah. I tend to cut Giant Bomb into like chunks throughout the week, listen to it like a bit at a time, whereas the other ones I listen to all at once.
I'm the same, and I tend to, depending on the podcast, like Giant Bomb, if I listen to that, I will sit down, and it'll generally be when I'm playing it with a game that I don't really need to pay much attention to, so that I can kind of be paying attention to both at the same time. Whereas like if it's a shorter episode, like an hour or so, generally it gets most of my attention, so I would listen to it while I'm driving or something like that, so that I'm paying more attention to it. I'm definitely still paying attention to the road, don't worry about that. But
yeah, I like it when you're listening to a podcast in the car and they're like, all right guys, send us an email, pull over the car.
Totally breaking the third wall. It's like, okay, how do they know I'm in a car? Stop it.
Oh, let's do it right now. If you're listening to this, pull over the car, write a review. There you go.
Or even, you know what? Even if you're on the toilet right now, I want you to whip your phone out, get it out of your pocket, and write it in right now.
Yep.
Take a selfie and send it to us.
So make the comment of the selfie the exact time that you've heard this message, so we know that you're hearing it. Now, segueing into something that is on most Nintendo podcasters' mind, I would assume
Spaghetti.
No. We want to know, what are your thoughts on the Switch? How is it going for you? Do you enjoy it? Do you like to sit on the toilet and play?
Okay, so
like the ad suggests.
Sorry. That's all right. One, I'm definitely enjoying it. 2, it's going great, and 3, I'm not actually a toilet player. As weird as that sounds, I know the world loves playing on the toilet, but I tend to keep my Switch away from the toilet. But as a console as a whole, I am loving the console. But I may be a little biased. I love Nintendo, and personally, like, loving something doesn't always mean it's a success. So the Wii U, I loved my Wii U, and that was a great console for me, but it definitely wasn't a success. But for the Switch, it has been a success, and the main thing is, for me, is I never thought that I'd really get that much of a benefit out of it being handheld. The benefit that I get was the same benefit I got from the Wii U, first of all. I was like, you know what, I get to walk around my house and, you know, sit down in different places and play it. And that worked well for the Wii U, so I didn't really see much of a difference. And then just recently, I've kind of gone on a couple of holidays and been around a bit, and I've actually been able to take my Switch out. And the best thing is that I have this Mario case. It's about the same size as the Switch. Obviously houses the Switch and a bunch of games, I think about 16 games or something in it, and the charger cable, and it all fits inside this neat little bundle that's only slightly bigger than the Switch. And you know what, that's all I need when I go out on holiday or anywhere to take my Switch. Where, like, trying to convince Natalie, my partner, that to take the Wii U out of the house and on holiday was a much bigger task.
Yeah, for sure.
Just the compactness of the console and being able to just chuck it in the friggin' open zipper of a bag and knowing that you can take it out and be playing a game within the next 30 seconds is just such a handy thing.
And I think that's one of the features that's kind of underrated is how quickly it kind of gets back, because you put it into sleep mode these days. It doesn't just jump straight back into the action. There's no downtime between turning on the console, waiting for it to boot up, flicking through the rest of the Mii's, waiting for them to, like, come down from the top of the screen, and then, like, finally getting into a game. It's kind of just booted up, click on the game that's, like, still running because you want it to be, and you're straight back into it. There's no waiting. And it's like back in the day where you could only save at certain spots, so it's like, Mum, I'm going to be late, you know, just wait, I got to get to a save point. There's none of that these days. It's just hit the button on the top of the Switch and you're off.
It's funny because I do that with every other game console. My partner walks into the room, she's like, come on, we're going to go. I'm like, I'm not at a save. And I'm like, on my PS4, I'm like, if this is the Switch, I'd just be able to hit a button.
Yeah. That benefited me so much in Zelda, just being able to go, gonna go on an adventure. You literally just pick it up. You're already there. Boom, straight into it.
For me, it's like, just, those sneaky moments when you're waiting for your partner to get ready, and it's like, you don't have time to play a game. But with the Switch, you kind of do. So there's no more excuses saying, you don't have time to play a game while you wait for me to get ready. It's like, all right, I'm gonna get it out right now, and as soon as you're ready, I'm just gonna hit this power button and I'm gonna walk right out that door. You're not gonna be waiting for me. Trust me.
Yeah.
If your partner's like mine, you got plenty of time. Actually, one of the features I really underestimated before launch was, like, the ability to be able to play 2-player wherever you go. I never really thought about it that much before the Switch came out, but being able to play Mario Kart and Snipper Clips and even 1-2 Switch, like, wherever you want, is really useful, I feel, because there's been times where we're out and about and I'm like, well, hand someone a Joy-Con, and a lot of the times they're like, what's this? It's a little controller, want to play a game. And even like 1-2 Switch out and about was lots of fun.
Oh yeah, I'm the same. Like, as I keep saying, we went on holiday recently, and we had 2 Switches actually, and we just kind of both set up a Switch, both took off the Joy-Cons, and there was 4 of us there, and we all got to sit down and play a 4-player game of Mario Kart. Now, the compactness of what we had for 2 Switches and be able to sit down and play 4 players, nothing else can kind of offer that experience. And even though, like, they're not the most comfortable controllers of Joy-Con, it still didn't matter to me, because I was like, when I'm playing Mario Kart and I'm on holiday, so you know what, bucket yourself.
Yeah, look, they're good enough. They do the job when you're away from the house.
They definitely do.
If you're that offended that they're too small, just spend $100 and get a Pro controller.
Oh, I know I did, and I haven't regretted that one little bit. I love that Pro controller. They're actually really comfortable.
It is great, yeah. The only issue I have with it is doesn't have a headphone jack, so you can't just plug in your headset and go from there. You got to use that mobile phone app.
Oh, and if they could improve that mobile phone app a little bit more, then we'd all be happy as well.
A lot of the time I come home and my phone's like on 10% as well.
It's draining the battery.
I'm one of the Yeah, and I'm one of the cool people with an iPhone 7 who doesn't have the headphone jack, so I've got to like decide whether I want to listen or charge.
Oh no, that's stupid.
I mean, it's a great feature. It's a great feature by Apple. Thank you very much for that.
Revolutionary.
Yeah, it's revolutionary. It's great.
If they keep doing it to Apple products, I'll never buy an Apple product ever again.
Oh, I hope it goes away. I've got an older iPhone, like 5S or something like that, but I hope it doesn't come out with a newer model. It'll continue on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay on the Apple topic too long, but to be honest, I've never noticed it. I've never missed it because it has a good battery life. But as soon as the Nintendo app came out, that's when I noticed it. That's when I missed it. I'm like,
Whoops.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well.
Well, they could just remove it altogether and, just put it all on the console.
Oh, God forbid.
So I think I have a bit of a question for you guys here.
Oh.
Yeah, go for it.
So let's exclude Zelda and say, what is your favourite game out on the Switch so far?
I'm probably going to go with Splatoon. I'm not going to lie.
Good choice.
But mainly because most of the other games that I've got on my Switch are also games that I've played before.
Okay.
So I've got like, I've got the new stuff like Splatoon. I've got Has Been Heroes. Ect. But Splatoon is something I did not get enough time with on the Wii U because my gamepad bit the dust per se.
Oh, it did it?
The control stick broke, and they're really annoying to replace and really expensive to replace. So, and the availability of trying to buy a new gamepad, it's not a thing unless I suppose you go to a factory and you're like, I need a new gamepad, and they're like, here, take one out of their garbage bin and throw it at you and say $99
out of their garbage bin.
But so I didn't get enough time with Splatoon 1, enough time that I wanted, I would say. So I decided, well, okay, I will just wait until the sequel comes out. And the sequel came out on the Switch, and I love it. I spend a lot of time on Splatoon. My partner doesn't really get into much video games. She likes video games, but she's like attributed to one genre, which is like the DMC type hack and slash.
Oh, okay. So she excited for
really
like any type of Hyrule Warrior games or what's?
Muso games.
Muso games. That's
like
what I'm looking
Hyrule
for.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, she loves them. But like, unless they're thematic to something she likes, like I don't know, Lord of the Rings or something, she practically just sticks with that.
Now you're talking my partner's language. Lord of the Rings. She loves that, and she would love that that type of game.
Yep, big time. And just for her, it was like I said to her, I'm like, oh, you should try Splatoon when the Splatfest was on. The Test Fire, rather. The first one that happened near the start of the year. And I was like, you should try it out. And she did. And she was like, wow, this is really fun. And then I'd picked up Splatoon, and she's played maybe about probably about 60% of the time that I've played on it, which is a fair bit for her.
That is a fair bit, yeah. By the sounds of it, you've been putting a fair bit into it, so.
Oh yeah. I've put my time in. I've taken a break for a couple of weeks because there was a point there where I just played nothing but Splatoon 2 for 2 weeks flat, and
Yeah.
I had to stop for a little bit. But yeah, it was interesting to see that I could get my partner interested in it, and she was always looking for advice or what setup should I run for this, or sort of thing. It was good. It was good. It was a good way for me and my partner to have another connection with a game that's not I don't know, War in the North or Dynasty Warriors 8 or something.
Yeah, for sure. And what about you, Drew? What game, excluding Zelda, is probably your favourite out so far for the Switch?
I've been thinking between Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon. I'm just going to say Splatoon as well, for the sake that Mario Kart 8 was on Wii U.
Yeah. And you guys aren't alone. I'm Splatoon as well. Honestly, if I had to exclude Zelda out of there, I'm constantly trying to get into other games, and like I'm fighting against my urges to play more Splatoon and nothing else.
Yeah, I was playing the other day for the Splatfest, and I was playing that, and I was also streaming. Oh, not streaming. I was watching someone on Twitch play the Call of Duty World War II beta,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing Splatoon, having a good time, and I was watching the Call of Duty, and I don't know, it looks so boring. I don't know.
The World War II beta?
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm one of those cheap bastards. This is slightly off topic. I'm one of those cheap bastards that went and bought a beta key instead of pre-ordering the game.
Did you?
Yeah.
How much was the beta key?
$5.
Okay.
So I bought a beta key so I could try it, and like it's not that bad, but at the same time, it's like Call of Duty's never going to change. So
No, I wasn't saying it looked bad. I'm just saying it looked boring. It's same old Call of Duty.
well, yeah. I mean, that's coming back around to Splatoon. So I'll let you continue because Splatoon is fun. It looks fun to play.
Yeah, I just jump into it all the time. Still don't know. I'm better, but I'm still not professional.
Have you tried the roller? Because that, like my partner, she really struggled to get into anything, and she hates she not hates, but she's kind of against playing first person shooter games or anything like that. She just can't pick up the twin stick controls or anything like that. But Splatoon, she loves playing, and I think what really kind of got her into it was the roller, because it just wasn't a gun. She could just slap a roller down on the ground and run around.
My partner and your partner sound very, very similar.
I always used to use the roller, but I actually found that I really enjoy the what's it called? The Nintendo Zapper gun.
Oh yeah,
The NZAP.
The NZAP. I really like the NZAP. And once I started using that and motion controls, I become pretty, not good, but better.
Especially after that discussion with SpongeBob and Matty Kuma, I suppose.
Yeah, because we had those guys on. They're like, you should use motion controls, and I was like, I don't know, don't really like them. But now I can't play games without the motion controls. And I was actually playing Uncharted the other day, and I'm like bending the PS4 controller. I'm like, whoops. Oh no! What's happened to me? It's broken me. But apart from that, I've really liked ARMS as well. We put a fair bit of time into ARMS before it come out. Well, not before it come out, but before Splatoon come out. And
ARMS has a lot of potential, but needs more updates. I think that's the conclusion I come to.
I mean, I mainly enjoy just the one-on-one fights. That's what I enjoy the most in it.
Yeah, of course.
Like the volleyball, the basketball, that target smash games.
Yeah,
terrible.
Bugger off.
Yeah.
Do you play with motion controls, or do you just play with the controller like most pros do?
I use that with the Pro Controller.
Oh yeah, so that's the way to do it. Now, I when I first started playing ARMS, I just played with motion controls, and then I just kept playing with motion controls, and I still do. I'm an idiot. I still do. But I have this real problem now. I've tried to go to the Pro Controller, but I've played that much with the motion controls, and I just can't get used to it, and I suck. I now suck with the Pro Controllers, and I can't keep up with everyone else because I'm using motion controls. So it turns out I'm just no good at ARMS.
See, my hope for ARMS was that I was really hoping that I'd get the Wii boxing vibe out of the motion controls.
Yeah,
because I loved Wii Sports Boxing so much. I think my rating was. I think it capped at 4,000, and I was capped at 4,000 on Wii Sports Boxing. I loved it that much. I'm like, I love this simplistic game, and I'm like 12 at this point, so whatever. Yeah. But I don't really get that vibe from ARMS. I do feel like there's a lot of integrity and passion and stuff like that to drive the game and make you feel like you're playing something very unique. But especially with Splatoon on the same line of competitiveness of like, you need to know these kinds of things to be successful. And you need to practice, and you need to practice. I feel like I want to put this time more into Splatoon because Splatoon is more solidified as an actual game.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, there's just more to do. There's stuff to level up. There's gear to acquire. There's gear to level up. There's abilities to put on. I
mean, there's that in ARMS, but again, I think because a lot of Splatoon 2's assets have come from Splatoon.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are already pre-balanced. You already know what you're looking at, sort of thing. But then you get, again, you had the highest win percentage rankings come out. I think it was a couple weeks ago for ARMS characters, and I think it was like Twintel, Ribbon Girl, and Min Min.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And it says something. Twintel and Ribbon Girl were the two highest, and it says something about them because they have so much aerial control.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They have a real serious case of air control that can really turn the game around. Like with Twintel, you can freeze in midair and then you can dodge a punch at the last second and throw one back, and that's really strong if you know what you're doing. Ribbon Girl can stay in the air for ages.
Yeah, my I think maybe I was playing with the wrong character as well. I mean, I was playing with Master Mummy, and it turns out he might actually be one of the worst to play with, unless like maybe there's good people who are really good at him. But he's so easy to throw. As you guys were saying the other week, he's so easy to throw. Like you try heal and then someone throws you, or like you try throw a punch and your punch is so slow that someone dodges you and then throws you. It's like, oh, I just can't win.
Yep. It's an unfortunate fate for Master Mummy, because I always thought he was going to be very strong with his healing, but nope. No, that wasn't the case at all.
It does hurt being hit by him, though.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
His throws do 200 damage just right off the spot. Like,
oh yeah, they do massive damage. But like, especially if you're playing, again, someone like Min Min, who, him throwing his slow punches, you dodging in midair as Min Min deflects those attacks and disables the arms for a small temporary amount of time. So like, it's one of those characters that sort of suffers from the fate of dodging.
Yeah,
which
the thing is, I feel like there'd be people who were probably really good at him. Like maybe there's people who are really good at like reading other people's attacks, and I feel like if you could read other people's attacks really well, maybe you might stand more of a chance with Master Mummy. But not be able to read other people's dodges and attacks to throw your punches at just the right times, I feel you're just at the mercy of dodges at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, one character I'm really surprised I didn't see on that tier list was Ninjara.
Yeah, he seems to be a favourite, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would have thought he'd be up there.
Yeah, his smoke cloud crap is really annoying. I'm not gonna lie, it's really annoying. And seeing the odd occasional Kid Cobra that knows how to play Kid Cobra is also really nuts.
Yeah, for sure.
Seeing the old kid that can play Kid Cobra.
Oh yeah,
rolled that one right off.
I mean, I just sort of stick with the Twintel or Min Min. I play Twintel probably better, but like again, it says it all really. Depending on how much control you have, not only over the land but over midair, it makes a massive difference in arms. And I feel like that's a balancing issue more than it is anything, because I think as long as you've got aerial control in arms and you know how to use it correctly, you can beat any character. Because your dodge range is so much better than any other character.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an issue for me. So I'm kind of just like, well, in Splatoon, I think it's kind of, people are just kind of like, well, Tri Slosh is really OP. Like the Tri Paint
Bucket.
Jesus, Paint Bucket. Thank you. It's really OP, and that's because of the kit it's got. It's got burst bombs and it's got ink armor as its special, and ink armor affects everyone. And
yeah, I've been using that. It's awesome.
it is really strong.
Yeah.
But again, that's something that they have to look at and balancing. But that's only one thing. That's like not a big tier set of multiple characters that you have to work around to not only please fans of that character, and not piss them off at the same time, which is a really fine line.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a character and not just a weapon in a game.
Yeah, exactly.
You've seen the comments when a League of Legends patch happens.
We're sticking with the arms theme here, are we? League of Legends arms.
Yes. that.
Brilliant.
God damn.
Hope that's the sequel.
Leggings.
one day these characters put on some stretchy leggings and it was on.
I just imagine like all of the Source filmmaker parodies of that. Of people like floating around in midair, like on the same level at all times, and their legs just going.
What's that game? It's like Sausage Party when you're just like flapping about as like a little animal, and you've got to knock each other off the course. Oh, it's a Switch game coming this year. It could be like I don't know.
I don't know, but if it's a really cool sausage party, I want to know more about this game. I haven't seen it.
Hey guys, unfortunately this episode's been cut short due to some audio problems. For some reason the audio just went all crackly and you could barely understand Bryce and I, so we're just going to end the show here. We talked a lot about Mario plus Rabbids, ARMS, Splatoon, Amiibo addiction. We had a great time with Eric. It really pains me that this happened, but I don't know. I have no idea why it's done it. No idea. But we'll get into the plugs. So you can find Eric at Nintendo by Numbers, and I'm sure you'll be able to hear it better from him.
So the easiest place to find us is just go to nintendobynumbers.com. We have the web, that's on that website. We just have all our podcasts, reviews, anything else you want to find. Obviously you can find the podcast on iTunes and other places, and follow us on Facebook and things like that if you want to, but mostly just hit up that website and you'll find all the links you need from there.
And please go and support Eric and Nat over at Nintendo by Numbers. They're doing an awesome job with their podcast, and I love seeing people go out and, just go and do it. Lots of people want to do podcasts, but just sit around and not do it. So it's awesome seeing people do quality podcasts, especially Nintendo ones, because I'm a big fan of Nintendo. All right, so you can find the House of Mario on Twitter at the House of Mario. You can find myself at iDrewby, and you can find Bryce at Bryce DeWitt. Both Bryce and I do Twitch streams. You can find me on Twitch at iDrewby, and you can find Bryce at IVRevan. And if you want to have a chat, want to have a talk with Bryce and I and other Nintendo fans, feel free to join our Discord. There's a link in the show notes there, right here on iTunes and SoundCloud. And please, if you want to show some support, it's easy to leave a review, a rating on iTunes or SoundCloud. Just it helps the show sort of be shown to other people and hopefully grow. That's about it, I reckon. Awesome. Okay, Nintendo Jukebox this week is Timeless Journey by Sam Dillard. It's an overclocked remix of the Legend of Zelda theme from A Link to the Past, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. It goes for about 6 minutes. It's pretty long, but it should be good to accompany you while you're going for a drive or going for a run, whatever you do when you listen to the podcast. Oh well, guys. All right, guys. See you next week, and thanks for understanding. See ya.